Hello and welcome back to another video on the Calm Right YouTube channel. Today we are back with Glenn as we review the Motherwell game and the Sporting Lisbon game, as well as previewing the Ross County game that's coming up. In addition to that, we also have a Ross County fan, Adam Inglis, on as well to give his thoughts. If you have any thoughts on what we cover in this video, please do not hesitate and comment down below. Let us know your thoughts and like the video if you've enjoyed, and also subscribe as well. Why not stick around for more? Let's get into things.
Right, welcome back to another show. I kind of feel a bit guilty this week. Last week we said we had yet to preview or review any defeats, and here we are with two to look at this week.
I know, I think we jinxed it. We should have just not said anything. It was all fine and dandy. Now it's all gone badly and we're sad. No fun.
So we'll take responsibility instead and let McKenna off on this occasion. No, we're only joking. We'll get into that in a while, but promise that this won't be as boring as listening to Paul Hartley last night.
I don't think it could be. It wasn't good. It was not fun.
So let's start with the disaster that was the Motherwell game. 3-0 defeat. Nobody really saw that coming. We certainly didn't see it coming. What was your thoughts?
It was really annoying because I thought Motherwell, they played the extra half an hour with 10 men as well. They might be a bit fatigued, but it seemed that sort of gave them a bit of bounce and they were well up for it. They came flying out the traps, obviously, and we just weren't in it from minute one. They were absolutely on fire, and games won within the first 25 minutes. Once you're 3 goals down, just giving them that head start, it's always an uphill battle to get back into it, and never really looked like happening, did it?
No, it didn't, and that's the one thing we discussed last week, saying that the extra time's probably going to be an advantage for us, but wow, wasn't at all. And yeah, game was over before it even started. But you can't gift teams goals in the manner that we did. The second goal, especially, I know it's uncharacteristic from Joe Lewis, but just really poor errors. The penalty, yes, it's a penalty, but nobody appeals for it, and then McCrory, again, uncharacteristic given the way he started, just bullied off the ball by Mugabe for the third, and that's the game done. We did kind of show some intent towards the back end of the first half, created some chances, but 2 great balls into the box, and there's nobody there on the end of them, and yeah, the game just kind of just petered out in the second half. But we sold Scott McKenna this week, so he was out with the matchday squad. Do you think that had an effect on the game, or do you just think it was just one of those days?
I think obviously it wouldn't help, makes things a bit more difficult, losing your most consistent defender, well, maybe barring Considine, but he's been solid in there, especially this season. He's been really good. I think to take him out of that and sort of it leaves it very short notice, going from Thursday to Sunday, leaves it a bit disjointed. Obviously, it probably looks like we're making excuses. We should still have been looked a lot more comfortable, a lot more organised than we did.
Mm-hmm.
I think, the first goal, obviously Watkins really, really just unlucky. You see them not giving. It seems to change every week. I mean, Ryan Porteous basically caught a ball for Hibs the other day, and then the second goal, obviously Lewis, he fluffed his lines with the clearance. It's unlike him, but then also his positioning as well. After that, he seemed to offer a lot of the goal to Long, which was a bit annoying. But the thing with Joe Lewis though, that's probably his mistakes out for the next 3 months all in one game. So we'll take that. And then the third goal, he's given away a weird corner by putting it out for a corner there. I don't know how he's managed to do that and not give it a throw-in. But they mentioned a good point on Sports Scene. I think it was Long was standing right in front of Lewis in an offside position from when Mugabe won the header and sort of unsighted him. And obviously he did get a hand to it, but no one claimed for it. Annoyingly, I think if people did, and we might have maybe got that goal chalked off. Obviously, it's still 2-0. And I didn't even notice that at the time either. It was just on Sports Scene when they viewed it back. Long was right on top of Joe Lewis, unsighting him, which not ideal.
Yeah, I think at the time, I think more people were focused and worried on the actual foul on McCrory, but which admittedly I thought it was, but at the same time, I actually, maybe unfairly, because there was quite a powerful header, thought Joe Lewis could have done better. He got a hand to it. He is known for pulling off some really good saves, and it was maybe one, given the saves he has done in the past, was one you might have expected him to do. But yeah, just one of those days. It was really disappointing given the kind of form the form that we'd been in. We've touched on McKenna not being there and the disruption that put, which on a side note on the McKenna transfer, a good deal for the club and player.
Definitely a good deal for the club in that they brought in a lot of money and it's going to rise as well, potentially I think to 5 or 6, depending on clauses, and I think presumably a sell-on clause as well. I think it's a bit annoying that we probably won't see a replacement come in, but they've obviously signed McCrory and Hoban with knowing that they were probably going to sell McKenna, and that's why they were allowed to be brought in. So I guess it's understandable in that aspect, but it's just annoying that it does kind of look like we do maybe need another centre-half in. But definitely a good move for McKenna as well to the English Championship. Obviously, he's not the finished article quite yet, but he deserves it, I think. He's played over 100 games for us and a good chance to go and prove himself in England as well. And maybe eventually he'll end up in the Premier League. Obviously, we saw Kenny McLean there. Maybe McKenna will get there. And I hope he does, to be fair. He's been a decent servant for us. So.
Yeah, no, and I totally echo those thoughts. And I do think the deal, albeit that we won't see any of that money, and it'll probably be, probably be used to build a standout at Kingsford begrudgingly. But, we're going to get those clauses. Scotland appearances, I think, is one of the clauses, and I think he's certainly doing a job for the national team, so we've got a fair chance of that as well. But you never know. There's a few weeks left of the transfer window. Maybe if needs be, we can maybe dip into that and take something. But from an opposition point of view on Sunday, one player that really stood out was Alan Campbell, and a few folks saying that proves why he's better than Lewis Ferguson. Would you just say that was maybe Ferguson had an off day and Campbell was just allowed to run the show with McCrory being taken out of midfield?
I think that definitely helped. The three they had in the middle, it was O'Hara, Polworth and Campbell. They definitely ran the show, but I think when it's Ferguson and Ojo in there and not McCrory, first of all, it's 3 against 2 to start with, and then it's Ojo and not McCrory. I think Campbell, obviously, he's an absolute player. He really did impress me. I was wishing we had someone like that, especially on Sunday. But I think to call him better than Ferguson now is maybe a bit harsh on Lewis Ferguson. Obviously, he loves a big moment. I don't know if Campbell would maybe be able to do it on the stage against sort of Burnley away. Would he do that? Or in the Scottish Cup semi-final, popping up with a goal to win against Rangers? I don't know if he would possibly have that in him. But I think it's definitely, from a Scotland point of view, it's definitely a good problem to have all the young midfielders coming through right now. Yeah. Definitely. Between Turnbull, Campbell, McCrory, so obviously Gilmore in England as well, Ferguson. It's not a bad problem to have.
No, and I think, his performance was definitely summed up by Dave McDermott telling Billy Dodds he wasn't allowed to pick him as man of the match.
Basically, yeah. I do think it's a bit weird. Obviously, sponsors would never want that. But I remember back in the day when we used to get absolutely hammered and they would announce the full-time man of the match, and it would just, most times it would possibly be, number 12, the Red Army, the 12th man they would give it to. Obviously, you can't do that, but, it doesn't surprise me that we're not allowed to give it to them, but it definitely should have been him, in other words.
Yeah. So a disappointing performance to go into midweek and a trip to Portugal for the European counter. It's not panned out the way we'd hoped for, and unfortunately we're out at Europe, same stage, same hurdle, and we've fallen again. Do you feel it's a missed opportunity, or just think we were beaten by the better side? I even though I've slept on it, I'm still really not sure what side of the camp I feel I'm in just now.
No, me neither. I feel like, obviously, they're a very good side, Sporting Club de Portugal. Shouldn't be calling them Sporting Lisbon. But I can't help but feel, after watching the game last night, that we could have got something. They could have at least got an equaliser and taken them to extra time. Maybe might have not have gone the distance. But I definitely feel like they were there for the taking. But at the same time, you wouldn't want to go gung-ho against them from early on, because someone of that quality will just pick you apart. I mean, they had Brazilian under-23 internationals, Spanish under-21, Portuguese under-21, guy on loan from Man City, and I think Slovenian international as well. Obviously they're no mugs, but I can't help but feel we could have nicked something late on. Perhaps if we moved a little earlier, bringing on Edmondson and Wright, possibly. maybe could have got something late on, and obviously that Hedges chance as well should have hit the target.
The Hayes chance as well should have done a lot better with.
Yeah, I think he's had no composure for that, which I think from John Hayes is quite frustrating, especially given his experience. But it's still a bit raw, but it's just annoying that it's the third qualifying round again. And it's the fact we didn't even get to go either. That's just makes it all worse.
Yeah, there's a lot to be frustrated about. Obviously we ask on our Twitter pages for folk to put in questions ahead of the show, whether it be on last night's game or looking forward to the weekend. So thanks all, for those that have taken time to submit questions, and we will come to them throughout this review. But I just want to ask if you think there's many positives we can take from last night. First of all,
I think we looked a lot more organised than I expected, given how disjointed. Yeah, well, yeah, good point. But throughout the course of the 90 minutes, considering how disjointed we were against Motherwell, but it's just annoying that it seems we need sort of 10 minutes before at the start of games, and we've given away in 2 games in a row. We've given the team a head start. It seems really annoying. The miscommunication between McGeoch and McCrory. But I guess, over the course of the 90 minutes, it was a lot more positive, obviously, without McKenna. I didn't expect it to be that organised, to be fair. Once that first goal had gone in, I did expect it to possibly be a cricket score. I even said to you, that's game over then. And I expected it to go on be 4 or 5. But that didn't happen, so I guess that's a positive. Other than that, I think we're struggling. Scott Wright's a positive, again, coming on and influencing the game against a very good quality opposition. So that, I think, bodes well for the rest of the season. We can carry that on and do it regularly. I'll be very happy. But other than that, I think we're struggling.
I thought, like you said, when it went 1-0, it was so disappointing because, such an early stage to go, and it was such an avoidable goal. It was something we touched on last week, a talking point we had about offering teams that were a bit more clinical the chances that we'd been offering, especially in that Viking game. Will we be punished? Well, we saw in evidence straight away last night. First opportunity Sporting got, bang, the balls in the back of the net. First opportunity we get, we just lack that composure or instinct, and sclaff it wide, high, and that was the frustrating element for me. But you touch on some of the positives. I don't know if I feel that we're struggling in a sense, maybe on a European level, but domestically, I think there's certainly signs of encouragement, especially if the likes of Hedges, Scott Wright, you've touched on, but a player that I don't think gets a lot of praise, who I thought marshalled the midfield really well alongside McCrory, was Dylan McGee. I thought he broke up play very well last night. He did, he broke up the play, but unfortunately him and McCrory ran into each other and gave the ball straight back at the goal. And then obviously you've got Johnny Hayes, who just is like a Duracell battery running up and down that wing.
Definitely. Yeah, Johnny Hayes, he just goes about his business very well. Obviously, there was the chance in the final third, he could have had a bit more composure. But he does, to be fair to him, he's up and down that left-hand side all 90 minutes, and he doesn't seem to show any sign of fatigue, and that's him at 33 years old now as well. I definitely think the McGeoch point is very good as well. He was very sort of comfortable. He'll look after the ball very well. It's just unfortunate at that one point, him and McCrory running into each other, giving away the ball. But then also it doesn't help that they had half of the defence trying to play the offside trap. They stepped up, and then 2 of them are sitting a yard or 2 behind playing the guy onside. Doesn't help.
But I don't know if that's maybe down to just, Logan was back in, Taylor was playing. It's players that haven't played with each other all season, given, what's gone on with Scott McKenna this week. So maybe just that bit of inexperience, naivety. I don't know what it was, but it was hugely frustrating. I think I'd have rather we lost 3 or 4-0 than the manner in which we did end up losing. But speaking of naivety and inexperience, the referee was extremely frustrating last night, and Left Peggers asks, should we have been more streetwise to the referee throughout the game?
I definitely think so. I think Sporting Lisbon knew how to play it, especially. They were tough in the challenge, but also they knew as soon as anyone laid a finger on them, a set pieces especially, throw themselves to the ground and they'll get the free kick. The referee was whistle happy. Obviously, we can't blame it on just that.
No,
But
and I'm not trying to,
yeah.
but and I think the point was, and I think it lit up in about every group chat, and I think I said it to you as well, and Rob McLean mentioned it in commentary last night. The first free kick that we had in the second half, lofted into the box, and Considine puts his arm across the back of the defender, free kick. And first thing Rob McLean says, why have we not learned from the first 45 minutes of that? And that was the really frustrating point. There was a few inconsistencies. I think Scott Wright was blatantly fouled, and he doesn't give it. But yeah, he seemed to lose his decision making a bit in the second half. But that was hugely frustrating for me, was how stop-start the game continued to be.
Definitely, yeah. They knew how to play him 100%, but you have to learn from that. I think we were constantly. So I think one of the questions was, why have we not learned from it? Putting the high balls into the box, and obviously, as soon as anyone challenges with a Sporting defender or whoever it may be, they'll just throw themselves to the ground and they'll get the free kick. You have to learn from that. Obviously, it will come with experience of playing that sort of games. I don't think obviously it'll help, but given how sort of sporadic they are, we get sort of 3 European ties a season, we never make it further. And meanwhile, they'll be playing in group stages and things possibly beyond, and they'll know how to deal with that sort of refereeing. They'll just play to it at 100%. But I think they've got to learn from that, especially going forward. And
that was a question by Callum Stewart asking about the high balls, and it's an interesting point. Most of our free kicks, and we'll come on to the corners in a minute, but any time we had a set piece, you almost knew that as soon as the ball went into the box, it was going to be given the other way. The referee was going to find something to blow up for. But equally, like we've seen domestically, when we got the ball down and ran at Lisbon last night, we did look like causing them problems on the overlap, especially Johnny Hayes' side. It was just that final end product we just lacked last night.
Definitely. I think that's what it sort of links into the short corner problem, and the high balls were going in and it was a foul immediately. I think that was possibly why they were trying to work it short. Obviously, they do that most of the time anyway, and it's probably good to mix it up. But obviously not every time, as we seem to do. I think that was possibly what they were trying to do, but Sporting were wise to it, and straight away they were out on them, and it didn't work. None of it worked. But as you said, it definitely did work when we got the ball down and got a bit more direct and got running at them on the overlap. I think when Scott Wright came on as well, again, him through the middle, being direct runner, obviously should have got that foul, I believe. I think, definitely that when we sort of started playing that way and got the ball down and played a bit more football instead of just these long high balls, it did work. But I feel like if we'd maybe done it a bit earlier, then we might have fashioned a chance or two more. I never know, we could have taken one, but knowing us, we probably wouldn't have, let's be honest.
We touched on short corners, and Carol Innes asked, what's the point in short corners?
As I said, sometimes it is good to mix it up, but I think when we do it every time, it does get really frustrating. Especially, I don't think we score from set pieces most of the time anyway, other than when Hedges did it directly, and someone else mentioned that on Twitter as well. The idea is obviously to draw out a couple more defenders, and then you can maybe change the angle and whip it in. But when they're wise to it and they're getting out on the pressing it immediately, you need to just learn from it and accept it's not going to work, and maybe just put a ball in the box. But
then equally, if you're dragging the defenders out, doing a short corner, you then got to be able to beat the first man, which frustratingly we seem to always be inept at doing. Or when last night when we did beat the first man, it was then a foul. But it's a point I think we spoke about last week as well when we were reviewing the Viking game about Hedges scoring direct from the corner. We should be scoring more from set pieces given the height in our team. Now you've got Taylor probably play more now, Hoban, Considine. It's an area that I somehow don't understand why we don't take advantage of.
Well, you've got Hoban, Considine, Taylor, McCrory, Ferguson and Watkins, all 6 foot plus. And we don't score from set pieces, even when we have McKenna in there as well. It just doesn't seem to happen for us. I don't know how. don't know what they're doing at Cormac Park on training wise, but it really is frustrating. Especially, I think obviously when they do the short corners, you mix it up every now and then. Maybe do every 1 in 3, but every single one as well. It's just it's painful.
And well, a player that we spoke about, we seem to speak about him every week. He's not scored again. Marley Watkins. There's kind of mixed opinion on him last night. Some people saying if Cosgrove was in there, he would have maybe scored some of the chances. The floated balls in. Are we getting to a stage where it's getting frustrating with him not scoring, or are we still kind of, well, he's linking up the play, fine, it'll be okay because other people are chipping in?
I think from what we've seen from Edmondson, it's that he's capable of doing the link-up play as well. I think it's maybe about time he deserves a chance now. And obviously Cosgrove's not fit yet, but I think, and Edmondson has looked very bright. I think he looked bright when he came on against Motherwell. He did all right when he came against Lisbon as well. Obviously, he didn't have too much opportunities or anything. I think maybe Ross County is the time where you give Edmondson that chance, because he's got to, and he looks capable. He doesn't, obviously he's not played much first team football. He's mainly in the 23s at Leeds, but I think he does look ready, and he looks like when Ferguson came in. He looks like a man. He looks ready. He doesn't look 19, 20.
Yeah. And one other question that we were asked was, should we have changed it sooner? And if so, who would we have changed? This is an argument that I was debating actually with one of my friends before we actually came on and recorded. Personally, I think we should have, the change with Scott Wright, I'd have liked to see maybe 5-10 minutes earlier. But then similarly with Conor McLennan, I don't see bringing him on at the stage that we did what impact we were hoping that was going to achieve. Taking him off for Logan and then deploying him at wing back is just defeating the purpose of other than giving fresh legs. I'd have maybe thought we might have changed formation a bit. I'd like to see us go for it. We didn't. We just kind of changed personnel really, other than the McGeoch and Scott Wright. But equally, I think if we did start going for it, if we went too early, Sporting kind of, in my opinion, didn't really get out of first, second gear.
Yeah,
they could have easily just pinged the ball about and picked us off at will.
It's apart. Yeah, definitely. I think I agree. And I've thought possibly with sort of 20, 50 minutes to go, we might see us maybe move to the flat 4 at the back and sacrifice the centre half, or possibly obviously we did take off Logan for McLennan, but just go with the 3 centre halves and push Hayes and McLennan further forward to be more advanced. Obviously, you can't go that too often, as you said, probably would just get picked apart if we did that too early. But I would have liked to have seen us maybe go with that and just be a bit more ambitious with it. If we go forward and we go for it, we create a few chances, we miss a couple and they end up cutting us apart and get another goal or two, fine, but at least go for it, I guess.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we're out of Europe. It's another third round qualifying defeat for Aberdeen under McInnes. I've seen last night, there's a Faroese team got through, Dundalk have got through. There's teams that I think it's fair to say we would say have got lesser pedigree than ourselves are progressing. Do you think we've just been unlucky against who we've been coming up against, or do you also think it's a mental block, or is it the manager?
I think obviously last night to draw Sporting Lisbon, that is unlucky. And over the years, I think there has been a few draws where we could have definitely made more of it. Think about sort of Maribor, and I think Kairat Almaty. Look at those.
The one that really sticks out.
Yeah,
for me.
Those kind of draws where you think we could have made a bit more, even if we didn't get group stages, gone on to playoffs, possibly. I think there probably is now for guys like Considine and Hayes and McGinn who've been in that third round draw so many times and not got through it and not progressed. There might be a bit of a mental block, and I suppose that's down to the manager to then help them through that, and also to employ tactics which will allow us to actually progress further. And obviously he needs to make sure players are more aware, sort of streetwise, with referees and things as well. So if we play, don't play into the referee's hand, don't play in Sporting hands last night, we maybe have a better chance of getting through.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was just one of those things that you can't help but feel frustrated by what's gone on, and being like, oh, we've failed at this stage again, especially. And like I said earlier, I think the manner of which we went which we went out is probably why a lot of people are feeling like this. I've seen a lot of comments online about the negativity of the manager. We didn't go for it as maybe as early as some hoped, but equally, like we've discussed, there's obviously the risk of getting picked off. But one question that was asked by Jonathan Main was, do you think, given last night's result and obviously the failings to progress further in Europe, do you think this kind of affects the club's ambition to be one of the Euro 100 clubs?
The fact, yeah, we are sort of falling at the same hurdle every time does sort of, it plays on their mind. I don't think it's wrong to be ambitious to be the Euro 100, being the sort of Euro 100 club, but it just seems like a far way off just now. I don't think it's, yeah, as I said, I don't think it's wrong to be ambitious and do that, but I think possibly someone else mentioned when it comes into the UEFA Conference League, which is when it's like the
Yeah, I was going to be.
third.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
Scott Fife saying,
right.
should we just accept that the new competition that's going to be coming up, is that going to be our level? But I think what you're saying there about being ambitious is right.
Yeah, I think realistically, it probably is our level right now, and we would probably make it group stages and that in that just now. But just because that's our level then doesn't mean we can't then learn from that and play these games, play against European referees, different sort of opposition from different leagues. And then eventually maybe we do get to sort of where the club wants us to be. But that might just be the experience we need to get playing in group stages and playing these European teams more regularly. Sorry, in that. You never know.
Yeah. No, and and a follow up from what Jonathan was saying was, is kind of the third round of Europe, is that as good as it's going to get under McInnes?
So going by the previous years, you'd suggest that such thing. Um, I think possibly right now without the UEFA Conference League, that is probably how it's going to, as good as it's going to get. But I think, as I said, I think with the experience of playing in that, and if we do get group stages in that, you never know. I don't know what kind of quality of teams are going to be in there. Might even get beyond that. Might get through the group. Obviously, probably don't expect us to win it. But with that experience of playing in that and those teams regularly, those referees going abroad and sort of that sort of thing, I think players will obviously be better for that. And then eventually we might be able to build on that and progress in Europa League maybe a bit more.
Yeah, certainly hope so. It's really disappointing always going out at this stage, and we've touched on some of the occasions in which or the manner in which we've gone out being disappointing. And we've just spoken there about McInnes, and is this as good as it gets under him? Obviously, there's been questions asked. This is what happens when you lose games. It suddenly turns on the manager. It's not all as happy as we were last week. But Ewan Stewart asks, is a lack of big game mentality McInnes' downfall, and until it improves, will we continue not to win anything?
I think it's a concern. I think that's definitely right. I think, well, it really is hard to defend him given form in cups and not getting to the group stages and things. But there is times where we do look like we've got it. We can win those big games. I think back, it is a couple of years now. But, winning at Ibrox for the first time in years, there should be that mentality there. There's no reason it shouldn't be. They have to instill that. But I think it is something they have to do better on, and it is something the management have to address, that sort of game, and get over that mental block, I suppose. That's why they're there, and that's their job to do so.
Unless it's green and white hoops, that seems to be our biggest mental block in big games.
True, just hit the panic button as soon as that happens.
Yeah. It's something I've debated with a lot of people at work and group chats or, pubs before a game and whatnot. There's part of me that feels, we've hit a glass ceiling with McInnes, and, he's taken us as far as he can. we've certainly plateaued. We get to these semi-finals, we get to the third round, and then that's us done until next season. Third place, we're last season we kind of struggled to even challenge for second. So, and the style of play wasn't great. I think a saving grace for McKenna so far this season has been that the style has certainly improved, and it's returning to kind of some form of enjoyment watching Aberdeen. But the last two results have obviously not been enjoyable, and this is why questions are now get asked.
Yeah, that's just the way football works. Obviously, we were buzzing before the last week's games. I think the style of play definitely has been better, and if we can sort of put together results, and realistically, I don't think we're going to get near Rangers even, let alone Celtic this season, looking at our squad. But if we can play entertaining football and get third, and you never know, something might happen in the Cups. Obviously, we've got 2 chances at the Scottish Cup in the next year. You never know. There might be something in the League Cup as well. But I think if he wins a trophy this season, then that'll go a long way in getting any doubters. He'll be the Messiah all over again. It'll be the same as when he won the League Cup. But I think it's just people are got a bit tired of the boring football as well, obviously, because it was boring football and it wasn't even getting results. Whereas now it seems to be a bit more entertaining, which is something I don't dread watching Aberdeen so much, which is quite nice. So I think if along with the attractive football, if it does get put together some results, then I'm happy. There we go. I'll say that much.
Oh, that's a good assessment. I mean, this isn't to say, we're both firmly McInnes out, and it's not saying that we're both firmly McInnes in. It's questions that have been asked, and we're here to discuss it. So, Ewan, I hope you're happy with the discussion that we've provided.
I'm feeling he won't be.
But, I don't know, I'm sure he'll still have his opinion, but hey, that's the beauty of football. Everyone has an opinion and everyone's entitled to it, so it's great. I just want to touch on quickly before we look forward to Sunday's game against Ross County. You mentioned, we've got 2 chances of winning the Scottish Cup this season. It looks like the semi-final will be played without fans, but which means there'll be no display. And obviously this week we saw that Matt Cool has stepped down from the Red Army display team. And I think it's just fair to give him a shout out for the displays him and the team have been responsible for over recent times. I hope it's not, the club backtracking on some of the positive stuff that they've done. But certainly Matt's been responsible for a lot of cracking displays. So I think it's just worth giving a shout out to the work he's done.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the displays they've put on at Hampden, you think, I don't know how they've managed to put that together and put it all together, especially so late on sometimes. And yeah, I hope it's not sort of backtracking on sort of that fan interaction kind of thing. I hope that's not the reason why, because obviously Cormac seemed to be quite progressive on that sort of front. So it would be a shame if that was the case, sort of backtracking with that sort of thing. I wouldn't think that would be the type of thing he would do, but obviously it won't be coming straight from him. There might be people in between, who knows. But definitely I think over the past couple of years, it's been brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Right, so back to domestic duties on Sunday, and we were joined by a 12th man contributor, Adam Inglis, this week to preview this week's game. Well, Adam, thanks for joining us ahead of this weekend's game to offer a Ross County perspective on it. I think we'll start by thinking what your view on the season so far has been from a Ross County view.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on, lads. From a Ross County perspective this season, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I was incredibly happy with the way that we started, not just from actually getting 2 wins and 2 clean sheets, which is completely unbelievable for a county fan, but actually the style of play is incredibly interesting. We're now using the full length of the pitch in a way that we never did before. We're playing possessive, attacking football. We're trying to keep the ball, but we're also running the channels, so to speak, whereas before we've got the homage of being, we are Ross County, we play the long ball. So it's actually quite nice to see element of European flair to Ross County, even if we don't have the necessary quality to be able to do it. The intention is there. And realistically, for the first 2 games, I think we kind of caught many of the sides were looking at Ross County going, what are they doing? That is not Ross County. So Motherwell in the first game were caught completely unawares in the way that we played. So yeah, it started off well, but then we kind of creeped in with a bit of the more typical pragmatic approach. Leaking 2 goals against Kilmarnock, though they did play the front foot pretty well against us. Made us even more pragmatic again. Then we made mistakes, a lot of mistakes against Livingston, which was really quite concerning. We then went back to the attacking play that we've tried to use against Celtic, and yeah, we got absolutely slaughtered. Despite the fact that we won the first half, not as anything, we did go in 2-0 down, but we hit the post and things like that. But yeah, it doesn't really matter what Sportsend says; it's all about the result in the day. Going back to St Johnstone last weekend. Quite an interesting game. If you're actually interested in that as a neutral, it was probably terrible to watch. But for me, it was good that we actually kept the impetus of the way that we approached the Celtic game and didn't become disheartened to go back to be pragmatic. So we've already tried 2 different styles. The pragmatic style is quite interesting in that we look like we panic. I saw against St Johnstone that Iacoviti and Donaldson certainly controlled their area of the parks that they were told to control a lot better. They were more attacking and going out for the ball rather than waiting for it to come to them, which is really good to see. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I kind of felt that last week with the run of games that we're going to have against your lot, Hibernian and then Rangers, we needed to win. We needed to put St Johnstone down because I can see in 3 or 4 weeks' time we'll still be on 11 points.
Yeah, it's I think it's a good point. The start you guys made really did raise a few eyebrows. You know, being up there in the European spots. I think you said you're already renewing your passport for Europe. Don't know if that thought's changed already, but you know, a player that was mentioned at the start of the season of being key to Ross County was Ross Stewart. I know a name that was linked with Aberdeen as well. McKenna's obviously a fan of his, but it's gone through a bit of a goal drought. Do you think that maybe speculations affected him, or is it just down to the style of play? Because someone noted that he's actually kind of playing more on the wing just now.
Yes, no, that's absolutely right. So that has been part of the adjustment that we've made. So we're playing about with a few formations. I still don't think that we're fully settled. With regard to Ross Stewart, though, I don't think his head's been turned. I mean, you look at the passion. He turns up in the box. He defends for us. He's actually a utility player more than anything. The one thing that he needs to work on a bit more, ironically, despite the fact that he's got very good finishing, is I think he needs to work on that a little bit more. And yes, I understand like maybe you can get the blinkers on, but he does miss clean cut chances. And as a smaller club, so to speak, we create too many chances, so our conversion rate has to be much higher. So I'm looking for that kind of quality. Now, realistically, you'd be expecting a much better finisher, or not much better, but a better finisher such as Mackay, someone that's more polished, to be in those positions. The tactics are that we're pushing Ross Stewart into those positions because he's just a bully. So it's working well. However, we're now trying to use his pace out on the wing to then utilise the midfield and have Vigers coming through the middle as well. So we've moved things about a little bit. If we want to talk about the transfers and the rumours there, County have a right to wait for 7 figures. Market value, it sounds completely ridiculous. I look at Liam Boyce, who I would say is probably the best striker County have ever had, and we sold him for 500,000. Now they're saying they want 7 figures, so that's going to be at least £1,001 if Arsenal want to bid for it. And you know, we look at Dykes. Dykes is now the benchmark realistically. Talking about the value of Shankland, Dundee United are putting £3 million on him, apparently. So you know, if we ask for say £1 million for Ross Stewart, even when he's not the finished article, yeah. You look at your guys with McKenna as well. I don't think McKenna's the finished article at all. So the going rates are, we really shouldn't be selling players for less than £1 million. We've had 2 bids from Rotherham, which deride. That's a positive kind of way to describe it. 150 grand and then 250 grand with sell-on fees. I don't think that's anywhere near acceptable for a player of his quality.
Well, it's a good point, and I think that kind of also sums up the way certain teams down south view Scottish players, that they can bid cheap and hope that we'll just accept it, especially during these times. But I suppose if Aberdeen are interested, we've now got money to burn with that McKenna money.
Would you spend 1 million on Ross Stewart?
Yeah.
I think Ross Stewart is definitely a player. I think there's a player there. As you said, he's not the finished article quite yet. But if, it would be the sort of player I wouldn't be surprised if we lost Sam Cosgrove. Obviously, we accepted a bid for him before, but he didn't go. He would be the sort of player I think McInnes would sort of bring in and try and mould into that sort of Sam Cosgrove style play. I definitely think there's definitely a player in there. But as I said, maybe if the finishing can improve, add that sort of to his game a little bit more. But I think you're definitely right with the 1 million, because the benchmark is now being set with Dykes. They got a couple million for him. I think, as Glenn said, they just try lowball Scottish teams so much, trying to just try to see if we'll bite on the money. But I think Ross County in a good position as well. They won't have to accept such an offer, really.
You hit on a really good point there about the kind of finance, and I know that we'll touch on it later with Roy McGregor and all that kind of thing. But yeah, County are very lucky in that we have such a very fruitful kind of backing, very, very fortunate, unlike a lot of other clubs. So it's great that we don't have to be bullied. And like you say, the pragmatic approach that English clubs have, where they go, well, it's a Scottish team, they need the money, therefore we'll just throw any old money and they'll snatch it. Some teams would. But I was actually really proud as a kind of SPFL fan that Livingston held their ground and actually got the value, and a decent value as well, because I was expecting 1 million, so I think that's good. What I would say though, if in terms of, obviously I hope and I expect them to stay. We do have, I think it's another couple of weeks until the transfer window shuts, so it will get quick. We're already eyeing up a few replacements. It looks like Michael O'Connor from Watford is going to get a medical with us, if not today, then it's going to be the start of next week. Similar-ish kind of player, unfinished article. Does he have the pace? To be honest, I don't really know. My research was on Football Manager. It wasn't necessarily on YouTube, so I can't really tell. But what I would say is, the fact that we're looking at a replacement, so to speak, doesn't fill me with great joy.
Yeah. But moving on, do you think you've got a chance on Sunday? I would say they definitely do, especially might be a bit deflated after the game on Thursday. Also might show a bit of fatigue. What are your thoughts? Are you confident?
I'm a lot more confident considering the fact that you'll have a hangover from Europe. That always helps. It's not a hoodoo, it's a fact, and especially in Scottish football. However, on the other hand, you'll want to prove a point. So do the two cancel each other out? Not entirely sure. There's a bit of a hangover as well. Can we attack that? Potentially. Are you going to approach the game more pragmatically? Probably, because you'll have to readjust your defensive line. I would like us to approach it in the same way that we have against St Johnstone and Celtic, etc. This continual possession-based play where we use the width of the park. Victoria Park's a bit smaller, obviously, than Pittodrie, but we will try and use the park as much as we can. We'll be looking for set pieces as well, so I think it'll be a bit of a stodgy game. But I do think that we're probably in with a really good shout, actually.
I think so. I'm sorry, Glenn. I'm just going to say, I'm missing out the fact that we're not going to be going to the Mallard. That's all I'm gutted about.
Yes, absolutely. There's no point in going to Ross County unless you go to the Mallard pre.
Exactly. It's amazing. On you go.
Well, that was going to be a comment I was going to make, saying I missed County away last year. It was the day before my son was born, and it was kind of the first fixture we'll look for, because it is a really good trip up north. But I think it's an interesting point you make about County's use of the pitch and using the width, especially with us possibly suffering from a European hangover. The more County keep possession and pass the ball, the more likely we are to possibly see that fatigue come in later on. So it will be interesting. I think County tend to set up to frustrate Aberdeen. Obviously in recent times we've managed to get the upper hand, but County do have this ability to always sneak a goal against us. And I think especially if they get the first goal like they have done on previous occasion, it'll certainly give them an incentive of something to hold on to. But would you see County going defensively or continuing to just play their normal style?
I think we're going to, the new normal, exactly. Yeah. I think we're going to continue with trying to frustrate you, try and get you to fluff your line, so to speak, break out and try and get the ball from us. We're going to play in the fatigue, and the style that Ket's is certainly trying to set up, I think, is to greatly to our benefit, considering the fact that your team will be tired. So I do think we're in with a really good shout. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And is there any injury concerns or team news that you're aware of that we can maybe be encouraged by?
Not really. Gravosti is still out long term. That's about it, really. Apart from that, we've got clean bill of health, which is really good, and rare for County as well.
You mentioned Kettlewell there. Actually, I've been very impressed with how he's got County playing. Actually, I think he's a good young manager. / David De Gea obviously looks very similar, but no, I'm very impressed.
Not anymore.
I know, I'm very, very impressed so far. I think that is definitely a good appointment in the long run, especially. But do you think he's capable of guiding County to the top 6? Obviously, there's probably a spot available. You're maybe looking at Celtic, Rangers, us, Hibs and Motherwell to be in there, and then probably St Johnstone, Dundee United, County, Killie battling out for that last top 6 spot. Do you think you can nick it?
I mean, it's quite difficult to answer that in some ways, because I think we've got our kind of top 4 of yourselves, Hibs and the Old Firm, or the Glasgow 2, whatever you want to call it. With that, actually, and I wouldn't make assumptions based on it being quite early in the season. However, it does look like the rest of us, there's not much between us. I'm particularly happy at the fact that we've managed to put teams that necessarily I would expect us to have difficulty with, primarily St Johnstone, Kilmarnock and Motherwell. We've had positive results against, which has been really good. It's very difficult to see. As you say, there's an opportunity there. We took advantage of that opportunity in the past. We took advantage of the opportunity when it came to winning the League Cup. So, you know, there is an opportunity there. There's an incentive there. And that's the type of thing that I expect Kettlewell to be pinning on the door of the changing room to say, come on, we've got a chance here. We could, you know, push, you know, go as far as we can. On the other hand, you look at St Johnstone last season, the kind of mess they were in, and then they turned into be one of the form teams of the year at the turn of the year. So it's very difficult to say. Primarily, I'm going to answer it the same way all County fans do, which is we just want to survive. It's very enjoyable being in the Championship, but what I would say is, yeah, I'm always looking for us to push as far as we can go, and top 6 would be great, even for, if nothing else, the financial incentives that will help us grow as a club, which is really good.
Yeah, I think it's a good point you make. You've obviously, you know, taken points off of St Johnstone last week, team probably that will be in and around that top 6 battle. But I do like how you're always, and County fans in general, I do know a few myself. You guys are always reserved and just aim to, you know, you're happy with just staying up. But it's funny to hear you say that, given a few weeks ago you were looking to renew your passport.
Well, don't confuse my personal delusion with being a County fan for optimism or anything like that. You know, that's me just thinking one win. Oh wow, I'm not even used to wins in the top.
Yeah. What was Marley Watkins like against County in his Cali days? Did he have a sort of hoodoo over County?
In the same way that Vigers had a hoodoo over Cali, I would say. No, Watkins was a really frustrating player. You can't deny his quality. He always seemed to find a way to kind of unlock us, which was really frustrating. So he is, he's a frustrating guy. That's all I have to say. But yeah, I fully, he was one of the better ones at Cali when Cali really had their golden period, so to speak. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious, given, you know, he's obviously still yet to find the net for Aberdeen, so maybe playing familiar foes might benefit. You know, I'm clutching at straws here. I'm really hoping, you know, he can finally kickstart his goal scoring, because we do need a striker that can score.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a tactic that you employ where you push him up quite far, but then hopefully we'll isolate him. I mean, the only guys that he would know now, based on the fact that we have a revolving door at County when it comes to players, is maybe Vigers and Gardine and their old heads, and definitely be the one shouting in the dressing room and pinpointing him as an ex-Cali. So
and just one thing else I want to get your thoughts on was Roy McGregor's come out this week and said that he will cover Elgin and Brora's testing for their participation in the League Cup. Obviously, he spoke about his backing, but I think that's an excellent gesture from the chairman.
Yeah, that's really good of you to say. He sees himself as not only a kind of philanthropist for like Highland football and things like that, and he has made gestures to help Cali Thistle out before, not financially, but in regards to how can we push Highland football, not just Ross County. Way back in a long time ago, I would say about 15, 20 years ago, when we were pushing for the Highland Football Academy, Roy McGregor really pushed for that. He's all about trying to act like a Highland philanthropist, so to speak, and to help the game and the profile of the game up in our region of the world as much as he can. So I think it's great, and it's really good to show an element of camaraderie with the other kind of local clubs. We do very close connection with Brora anyway, so yeah, it's great to see, and hopefully other clubs should be doing that as well. Instead of traditional rivalries, we should be helping each other out in times as difficult as these.
Yeah, no, it's really good to see. So I thought we'd get your opinion on that. And just one final thought before maybe we get a prediction from yourself. Obviously, the game is on pay-per-view, given no fans. What's been the sort of quality from the Ross County pay-per-view options? I know with Aberdeen we've kind of mixed commentary, co-coms, and there's been a bit of, the commentary could be a lot better. But in terms of picture quality as well, has it been suitable up to now?
Well, we've certainly. I've got to completely take my hat off to the club for getting Rory Hamilton and Stephen Cragen, but yeah. Big names in terms of actually, punditry and things like that, so it's the club. Roy McGregor came out a couple of weeks ago saying that, what we make in pay-per-view, we're actually giving out by doing a media kind of budget that we didn't expect we were going to have. The quality, as far as I'm aware, has been good. However, we have had problems, as most clubs have, with logins and all that kind of. Stephen Cragen actually did his first lead commentary game against St Johnstone for us. It seemed okay. It actually seemed okay. John Rankin came on, was co-coms, seemed all right. It didn't seem too stodgy. We're all going to be looking for the kind of great commentary level. Realistically, though, yes, we got Rory Hamilton, but we should have got Rob McLean in because he's one of our own. So I don't hear any criticism of that great man.
To me, that would have made sense getting Rob McLean in. Obviously, we've had him for most of our games, but he made an absolute blunder last night. He asked Paul Hartley what his best European game was for Aberdeen, and Paul Hartley just shot him down immediately. Never played in Europe. It was terrible to watch, genuinely.
Let's just say that's a rare blunder of lack of research on Rob McLean's behalf. I'm not his agent, by the way. I'm just saying that in that regard.
Well, no, Adam, it's been great having you on and getting the Ross County perspective, and we both really appreciate it. So before you go, are you wanting to brave putting a prediction on the weekend?
Brave putting on a prediction, yeah, 2-1 County. Wow. The clean sheet will go.
Callum?
I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet without McKenna in there. I'm going to say 2-1 Aberdeen, the reverse. I'm going to say 2-1 Aberdeen.
Well, I'll sit on the fence. I'll go 1 each.
All right, okay. We've not really caused any shockwaves with these predictions, have we?
No, apart from you getting your 1-0 right against Hibs, but there we have it.
That was more just by chance. Eventually, one of them was going to stick.
Well, Adam, thanks very much for taking the time out and joining us, and good luck on Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Cheers, lads. Same to you, and thanks for that. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyway, so that's another end to this week's show. Hope you've all enjoyed listening to myself and Callum's thoughts. As always, we appreciate any feedback, any comments, and also your questions. It helps expand the show and also helps provide all this content and debate. Until next week, goodbye.
Thank you. Now, there we are, folks. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button and subscribe to come back for more. Comment down below with any thoughts that you have on the topics that we covered. I'll leave GLEN, Adams and the 12th Man links all down in the description below if you fancy checking them out. And also, if you fancy checking out what else we've got on this channel. We've got a Football Manager save with Aberdeen where I try to bring back the glory. And in the latest episode, we played Bayern Munich, so why not go check that one out. Thank you very, very much for watching and take care.